Hello, it's Dawn Michelle and welcome back to my channel. Today I am thrilled to share with you a look at the Pensive Path Tarot by Reese Marin. This is a trove of artwork from centuries past. So begins the journey along the pensive path. Beautiful. This is such a great little box. It opens sideways, which for whatever reason is like super novel. And it's really cool because it actually makes the deck easier to get in and out of. And look, there's a little latch. Like, can you see that? That's just super cute. I do have a little bit of information about the deck that I will share with you along the way. And mine is signed by the creator, which is lovely. So we'll go ahead and open it up. And like, look, it's like super easy to slide out. I apologize for the lighting today. We're gonna get some shadows. I live in the Pacific Northwest and it's December. So it's gonna start being really gloomy here all the time. And I'm just gonna have to use extra lighting, and my apologies, but we're just gonna have to roll with it. So we have the title card, which has the creator publisher information on it, as well as their social media, and the first edition with the date, which is wonderful. Let's flip it over and take a quick look at the backs, because the backs are super cool. Like, I just think these are really neat. And I'm going to read a little bit about the deck for you. It says, modeled after the RWS system, the Pensive Path Tarot invites you to explore the unexpected and broaden your understanding of conventional tarot archetypes, symbolism, and allegorical elements. As the name implies, this deck is designed to challenge beginner and advanced readers alike. So it says here, provides an intriguing opportunity to bring forward the past and allow these timeless paintings to reveal their wisdom through the perspective of the tarot. So this is a curated art deck, and it has a list of the painters included on this card, which is fantastic. All of these cards have some information on them. So we have the Pensive Path Pivot Spread, which is really interesting. On the back of this, we have some keywords for the minor arcana for the swords, the minor arcana for the cups, the list of the painters in the deck. Here's the minor arcana for the wands, and on the back of that is numerological aspects, which is really cool. I really enjoy that. And then we have the major arcana keywords. So I really do like when decks just kind of include little keyword cards, because then like I don't have to deal with a whole guidebook if I don't want to. This is an RWS based deck, so I don't feel I'm going to have any trouble working with it. But I do like that the creator has included a list of the painters as well. So I think that's really nice. We have an extra card here, which is like this beautiful wood grain. It has the same back, and extra cards are always appreciated for edging, just have to say. I love when there's at least a title card or some sort of extra card so I can practice my edging colors before I actually start working on my deck. Okay, let's go ahead and take a flip through the deck, and then I'm going to pair it with some of my oracles, and then maybe we'll do a little reading together. So here we have the Fool. I love this Fool because like the name is the Pensive Path Tarot, right? So it's not the Fool leaping off into adventure. It's the Fool maybe thinking about the adventure, right? And she almost looks a little bit like, all right, we're here. What's the big deal? And I kind of like that. She's a little bit moody, a little bit like, I don't know why y'all are getting so excited about this new adventure type of an energy, which is kind of interesting. Here we have the Magician with our Composer. I think that works really well. The High Priestess. I really love this image for the High Priestess. There's a lot of wisdom, I think, to be gained here, which is really fantastic. I love that the figure is older. We don't often see that. We do get to see that more actually in curated decks than we do in more modern decks. This card and the next one was one of the reasons why when this creator reached out, oh yeah, full disclosure, because I got excited, this deck was sent to me for review, but when the creator reached out, I had actually just watched video from Danny Mystic on this deck where she had done a walkthrough of it. I'll try to remember to link that in the box below for you. But she commented on this card as well, and as soon as I saw this card, I was like, oh yeah, that is something really cool. That is something really different. We have a little girl who is sitting on what looks like maybe the Empress's dress, like the idea that we have that full potential of the Empress energy, but we still have to grow into it. And to me, this feels like a card that represents like humanity, right? We have not reached that Empress level by any stretch of the imagination. And we as a species are still very, very young. We need to grow into that dress. We need to grow into the Empress energy. And we're still learning, we're still growing. And I absolutely love this depiction. I mean, yes, I'd like to see older empresses and emperors. That's always fantastic. But the intentional choice to use children is phenomenal, because for me, this takes that out of the emperor and empress on the more mundane level and looking at humanity as a species, like, because we are so young, we have no idea what we're doing, really. And clearly we still have a lot to learn. So I love this about this image. We get the same thing with the emperor, because the emperor is also very young. And I love that we have this idea of like the throne is too big for him. His little feet don't even touch the floor. I love that energy of we still have yet to grow into this energy. We're not there. We're not a mature species. We have a lot to learn. And this takes it into that realm of more almost ancestral, almost like humanity as a species, not individual nations or cultures or anything, but like we're all human, right? We're all learning and growing together. And I think that's really cool. It's just a really interesting take. I have no idea if that was what was actually intended, but that is immediately what came to mind when I saw both those cards. This Hierophant is really cool. He does feel like, I see the Hierophant as being a channel to the divine, and I do kind of get a little bit of that energy from him. And I love that he's outdoors. He's not in a church. He's not in the temple. He's outdoors. He's in nature. He's channeling from the divine of the larger world, not from the divine wrapped in the dressing of any sort of one tradition. He's just out there channeling. And I think it's fantastic. So here we have the Lovers, and I love that we have the two figures, but then we have the older figure over here. The Chariot is really cool. We have this person that's in the train car. They've got what looks like their wagon there. I think that's a train car. I could be wrong, but it looks like a train car. So the idea of like they've packed all their worldly possessions and they are going off. They are following their journey to wherever it may lead. That's really cool. The Strength card is just like, there's strength and there's patience in this card as well, which I think is a key part of the strength energy, that patience. And I just think this is such a cute rendition of strength. It adds a little bit of levity. Like there's a serious message in there as well too. Here we have the Hermit. Again, I really like this Hermit. I really like a lot of the cards in this deck. I love that she has like a lamp instead of like a lantern, like an old-fashioned lamp. I just think that's really cool, because she kind of like, she's got her arm propped up on her hip, and she's like, all right, come on, let's go. I know you need me to show you the way again. And I get the feeling like she's shown us the way before, and she's kind of like, will you get your act together? Let's go. And I love that energy. So here we have the Wheel, which is really interesting because we have this person on a ladder and all these like almost celestial figures, I feel like, around them. I think that's quite interesting. I love the ladder moving upwards. This Justice card is super fierce and I love it. She is like going to nail him through the head. So that definitely gives me the idea of like retribution, which is super cool. This Hanged Man is really interesting. The person hanging from the cliff. We see some other people down here. Death card. I love this Death card. I know I'm taking forever on these cards, but there really is a lot to dive into. But this Death card is really neat. Death is walking along with us. And I love that idea of like every day we're walking in step with death, right? Because like, as they say, every day we're living, we're dying, right? Super morbid, but totally true. And I love how this card to me really feels like it represents that. Temperance, she's getting the water from the well here. I love it coming out the face. Beautiful. This Devil card is like in your face, and I think it's really cool. And I love the fact that the devil is an actual man, because in the way that I interpret the card, even if the devil looks like some sort of otherworldly being, right? Even if it has like Christian connotations or other sort of traditions wrapped into it, like it's still humanity, right? We still are the devil. I mean, you just have to look around to see that. And this to me is all about like conquering our own devil. Again, this whole deck feels very much like on a species level, which which I think is really cool. This tower is amazing. We have the idea of all the chaos surrounding the tower that creates the change, but the structure is stable. Star card is beautiful. I mean, very traditional RWS depiction, but gorgeous illustration or painting. This one, I think Danny struggled with it too a little bit. If it didn't have the title on here, I don't know that I would immediately get moon energy out of it. I think we see a little bit of it up here, but I definitely like the reflection in the water because it kind of speaks to the idea of what's hidden underneath of all of that, which is really cool. The sun is beautiful. It feels very joyous. This is a very powerful judgment card. It has a little bit of that more traditional kind of angel heralding the call, but the look on her face is like she's not ready for it. She hasn't done what she needs to do. She's not ready to go. So I think that's really an interesting take on it. This world card is epic. I mean, that is just like immediately the word that comes to mind. It is epic. I really, really like it. It's powerful. It's dark and light at the same time. Like it hints to the shadow that we have to come through to get to the light. I love the almost decayed looking figure in the center. It's just beautiful. Again, there's so much that you could dive into with just this one card. And again, it feels like it's speaking to humanity as a species on the whole. And I love that for the major arcana. And I'll just, as we get into the minors, just because I have watched Danny's video on it, I do feel like the minors take us more into the mundane and the majors feel more like they're more of speaking to humanity on the whole. And I really, really enjoy that approach. Love this Ace of Wands with the plants coming out the fingers. I'm gonna try to move along a little bit quicker. Two of Wands, he's got his umbrella and he's like, should I go? Should I stay? I like that. The Three of Wands, again, tying very much into the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith imagery. Beautiful Four. This Five of Wands cracks me up. I saw it in Danny's video too. They're like fighting and like hair pulling. And this guy over here is like, look at these people. It's kind of funny. Makes me giggle. I love this for the Six of Wands. It's really interesting because I like that it's like the circus performer because this horse is going to keep going around and around in a circle. And we often see the Six of Wands as being like that. It's victory, right? But it's not the end. It's not the 10 of Wands. It's not the finality. It's like the momentary victory, but you got to keep going. And I love that. So while we're taking our moment, right? Our moment in the spotlight, like we got to keep going. We're going to keep going around and around. Like it's not the end. And I think that's really cool. Seven of Wands, very powerful. I love this Eight of Wands with these birds flying. And I like that they're not coming down, they're flying up. And I think that that's a really cool distinction. Like setting your intentions out there. This Nine of Wands is really cool too. Makes me think of Saving Private Ryan. This Ten of Wands is really awesome. I don't typically like clowns in my deck, but I love this because he's dressed up all funny, but he's got a super serious look on his face, but he's just carrying a big old bundle of pretty flowers. And like, I think it's really an interesting take on the Ten of Wands. We get that idea of more responsibility, I think, than burden. Burden isn't necessarily a keyword that I like to associate with the Ten of Wands. I like to think of it more as responsibility because burden can have negative connotations. And depending on your reading, that might not always apply. But like, it's the idea of like, you're carrying your load, you're being responsible, you're doing the thing that you need to do, even if it's not necessarily the thing that you want to do. And I think this card just illustrates that beautifully. This Page of Wands is lovely. Our Knight of Wands. There's a lot of energy and movement in this card too. Just fantastic. I love this Queen of Wands. I think she's amazing. Like she's even like smoking her pipe. She's in there just hanging out. She's like, I know who I am. I know what I'm about. I'm sitting in it. And I think that's fantastic. Here's our King. I love that he has the little tiger here that is just like leaning up against him. It brings a softness to the King energy, which I think is really nice. Here we have our Ace of Cups. I like that we have the hands in offering with the aces, which is really nice. Our Two of Cups, and this is so cool because normally we see it more as like a relationship, right? Like almost like a miniature lovers card. And I really like that we just have two people here like sharing a glass of wine after maybe the end of a long day. It almost looks like they're maybe been in the vineyard or something, been in the fields. And they're just coming together and they're just sharing a glass of wine together or a glass of whatever it is that they're drinking. And I get that sense of like connection, and it doesn't have to be tied in romantically. And I really, really appreciate that. This Three of Cups is beautiful, very joyous, almost like a celebratory. The threes can be approached as kind of like, it's a small step forward, right? It's not the victory of the six, and it's not the big dynamic energy of the nine, but it's like a little victory in itself. And I think that's pretty cool. This Four of Cups makes me giggle because the look on her face is like, oh my gosh, she is so in her feelings right now. Like if we tie that back into the Rider-Waite-Smith, she's so in her feelings right now that she just can't even think about anything else. And who among us hasn't been in this situation where we're just fed up and so in our feelings that we just like don't care about anything anymore? I think it's great. This Five of Cups is very cool, very much in that disruptive five energy. Beautiful. I love this Six of Cups. All the little children. I mean, definitely pulling in that nostalgia energy for that six. It's gorgeous. This Seven of Cups is really cool. It took my eye a moment to kind of focus on what's going on, but it's like all of these like pieces of body parts, like primarily heads, and then the torso here in the middle. So like the torso is the central figure, and like which head is it going to adopt? Which emotion is it going to try on right now? And I think that's really cool for the seven. This deck is really smart. I love this Eight of Cups where we just have the crack of the open door and the shoes here. Like it's not about the leaving. The leaving's already been done. You've left. And I think that's really cool. I love this Nine with the lady and her balloons. Kind of reminds me a little bit of like a Mary Poppins energy there, which is awesome. Our Ten of Cups, again with the clown, but I like it because like it kind of shows this like a different idea of family, right? This is a family. This little clown and all of his little dogs, they're a family together, and I love that. I think it's a great depiction. This Page of Cups is beautiful. She's coming down the stairs with her cup. Our Knight of Cups. Stunning. Again, I love this Queen of Cups. She feels very much in her emotional state at the moment. And I like that she kind of has the vessel here. It's like she is the container for it, which is quite cool. And our King, he's steering the ship. He's out on the choppy waters, but he's doing his thing. He's being the king, and that's awesome. This Ace of Swords this one's a little rough. Like it is a hand and it is doing the thing, right? It's the hand offering the potential of the suit. But like it's all bloody. And the thing that I do like about it gives a nod to the fact that like the swords aren't the warmest, fuzziest suit, right? There's challenging cards, a lot of challenging cards in the swords. And we definitely get that hint of that with the bloody scalpel. But like also like surgery saves lives. So like there's benefit to that. This Two of Swords is quite interesting. It almost looks like he has maybe a crown. It's kind of, I would need to like pull the card up into the camera. I'll look at it closer, but it looks like maybe there might be almost like a hint of a crown of thorns. He gives me like monk vibes, like he's a monk, but I could be wrong. I think this Three of Swords is awesome because this is so opened up to, I could read it numerologically. We have this, I think that's a little bird in this little kid's hand. And like, I feel like we're at this moment where we could go either way, right? The child can open the hand and let the bird go or squeeze and end its life. And so there's something to be learned here. This little child is either going to learn the lesson of compassion and let go, or going to learn the lesson of death and squeeze and bring the end to the life of that little bird. I think that is a bird. I'm hoping that's the sense I get from it, which I really like because there's like a lesson that's going to be learned here in this card. And it doesn't necessarily have to be heartbreak, because for me, that's the Five of Cups. And y'all are going to get sick of me saying that. But here we have our Four of Swords. And again, we have the clown energy, but it doesn't bother me in this deck. We have like, man, he's tired. He's done his work. His little hat's fallen off, and now he's going to take his rest. I think that's great. Here's our Five of Swords. Danny had mentioned something about like, yeah, you won, but at what cost? And I love that idea for this card because we can see like there is some sort of bloody dress going on. Like, I don't know. I get the idea that like maybe it's even like a sister that's going really, really dark, but like somebody that this child has had maybe been in conflict with, and he's ended the conflict. But yeah, like Danny said, like at what cost? Here we have our Six of Swords. Love all the people in the boat and they're leaving. And our 7, I think the 7 is super cool. I love this idea of, sure, you can pull in that betrayal, that trickery that we often see in the Rider-Waite-Smith. I'm just curious what, because she has numerological association, so I want to see what the 7 says. Adjust, reevaluate, pivot. Yes, I love that. That is really in alignment with how I read the 7. So like, is she coming or going? What adjustments does she have to make now that she has this sword? I think that's fantastic. I love this 8 of Swords. We get that idea of course, the binding, right? This person is bound, but if they just like stop leaning forward, that binding would release. So it's all about, are you going to keep pulling against it? Are you going to keep struggling, or are you going to kind of surrender, then move forward once you're unbound? However, we can also maybe think about perhaps, because he is in a field, perhaps what he's pulling along is something to help him cultivate this field as well. So like I feel like there's a light and shadow meaning in a lot of these cards, but we can see it depicted really well here. Like, do you need to just like ease up and slip out of your bindings? Or is this what you're doing to help create that forward movement because you're plowing the field? We can't see what he's attached to. So there's also that unknown here. Are you pulling against it, or are you pulling to create something? Are you pulling to make progress, or are you just struggling? And I think that's really, really cool. This 9 of Swords is super brutal. I feel like he's seized up, and like you can definitely see almost like the pain on his face. It's very much a shadow energy for the 9 of Swords, but it does work really well for the Rider-Waite-Smith rendition. This 10 of Swords is kind of interesting because it's like he was walking along and he was doing his thing, and then like splat, he got ran over. We don't see blood though, so like, it's possible he could get up. Man, he's been flattened, he's been run down, but he could still get up. There's still that potential here in this card, which I really appreciate. This Page of Swords, he's been doing the work, he's rubbing his old tired feet, but you can see he's been chopping the wood over here. Super cute. This Knight of Swords is really cool. And instead of like a single knight on a horse, we have an army of knights on a horse. So it gives it a different kind of an energy. I love this Queen of Swords. Danny mentioned how she reminded her of like in houses, big houses, and back in the old days where like we would have like the head cook or something like that. Like she knows what's up, but like as Danny said, like you don't cross her. You know, she'll take care of you and stuff, but if you cross her, like you're gonna be in trouble. And I think that's really cool. This King of Swords, I get the sense that like we're in times past, right? Like he's doing what he needs to do to feed people, to feed community, to feed family. And I think that's really cool. I love this Ace of Pentacles. It almost feels like offering the sun. It's beautiful. This Two of Pentacles is awesome. We get that, again, Rider-Waite-Smith idea of balance, but so out in the world, it's just lovely. This Three of Pentacles, I feel like we're in like a morgue here, but they're all working together, and I kind of like that. It's like maybe this person is dead. They certainly look dead to me. But they're still coming together to, you know, kind of handle or manage the situation or do whatever they need to do. Like the work's getting done, and it's getting done collaboratively, which is really cool. This Four of Pentacles, it's super cute and it makes me giggle, but it is very tied into the Rider-Waite-Smith because this like little monkey definitely feels like he's like hoarding his little, is he got animal crackers? I mean, that would just be awesome. He's hoarding his little cookie stash, but like, I mean, maybe he's not hoarding it. Maybe he's just like, he's gathering all of his little resources, which is how I like to see the Four of Pentacles. But he's like super cool. This Five of Pentacles is very powerful. We definitely get that Rider-Waite sense of kind of being out on your own. You know, you're at a loss, you're struggling. And I think that this is depicted in an incredibly powerful way. Here we have our Six of Pentacles. Again, another little clown card, but it's like, you know, we get this idea of kind of the energy exchange, right? You perform your trick and I'll give you the little treat. I think that's cool. The Seven of Pentacles, he's doing his hard work, he's, you know, hoeing the field, he's gonna plant something there, you know, probably, you know, food to nourish his, you know, nourish his family or nourish his community. We have our Eight of Pentacles. Interesting that it's violins that this person is creating, because I tend to think as music or violins or musical instruments in association with the sword suit. So this is kind of like working, you know, in a very mundane sense, you know, right? You're working to create something, very Eight of Pentacles, working to master our craft here. But there's also that sense for me personally with the violins tying into that, like this is also intellectual work, right? He's working with his hands, but he's also working with his mind. And I think that's pretty cool. I love this Nine of Pentacles. It's so beautiful. We have the grapes, and then she's got all of the little birds, the little peacock birds around her. Like, it's just beautiful. It definitely isn't Nine of Pentacles energy. I love this Ten of Pentacles where we have the whole family. We have like the matriarch in the middle. I think that's fantastic. This Page of Pentacles, I think she is stunning. She's like bringing out the dinner, bringing out the sustenance. This Knight of Pentacles, I keep referencing Danny's video, but like she mentioned the little macabre elements in this deck, and I appreciate that as well. Like, here's all these bones. It feels like after the war kind of an energy. Like they've won the land, but at what cost? Here we have the Queen of Pentacles, and she's quite lush and beautiful. She feels kind of a part of the land too, which is great because like her dress kind of matches the almost like tree throne behind her. It's beautiful. This King of Pentacles is really interesting because we have this, it looks like he's kind of weighing out his coins here. He's got his stack of money. It definitely feels very tied into the sort of financial aspect or monetary aspect that we tend to see associated with the Pentacles. But I think we can also see that in just a kind of more generic world sense, as in like just like being mindful of everything that you've accumulated as well. So that was a really long walkthrough. I'm sorry, I had lots to say about all of these cards. I think that it's a really beautiful deck. There's so many thought-provoking things going on in these cards. And it's one of those decks that I feel like I would do smaller readings with just because there's so much that I could dive into in the cards themselves. Let's go ahead and give it a little shuffle. The cardstock is really nice. It's got like a linen finish to it. It's nice and thin and flexible, which I really appreciate. I feel like it's going to shuffle really well because of that. Yep, beautiful, beautiful shuffle. Oh, beautiful shuffle, love it. Overhands nicely. I mean, it's small enough that I can do it this way, which I appreciate. It's like closer to like Los Scarabeo size decks, which is my favorite. They have, I think, the best size. Feels great in the hand, which is wonderful. Okay, so real quick, I do want to kind of pair it with a couple of things, but let's do a real quick, just 3-card reading to see what we get here, to see how it looks on the table. So we got the Six of Cups, tying into that nostalgia. I love that for numerological associations. For the sixes, she has like growth, recovery, and harmony. That is fantastic. That is so in alignment with how I read it. We have the Eight of Pentacles. She has advance, expand, and efficient. That's fantastic. And the Moon, reflect, obscure, subconscious. So that's really cool. We have this idea of kind of like growth. We're in the suit of cups, so that emotional growth that's going to lead to some efficiency maybe in our everyday life and the things that we're creating. But we have the Moon here with that sense of there's still lessons to be learned. Maybe we need to spend some time in reflection about how that has come about for us or what we still need to do moving forward. And I think that's quite lovely. So I also want to pair it with a few decks. And the first deck that came to mind for me is the Pear Tree Court, which is also by Danny Mystic. So lots of shout outs to Danny in this video. If you are not subscribed to Danny's channel, definitely go check her out. She makes fantastic videos. So I thought her deck would have just the right energy. There is white space essentially in her deck. There's breathing room around these central figures in her deck, which I think is really helpful when we have a tarot like this that has a lot going on within the cards. And we also have that single keyword in the middle, which I think works fantastic for creating a focal point. So we have beauty between the Page of Cups and the Hanged Man. Melancholy with the Ten of Swords and strength. Look how beautiful that is. And look at the color play. I'm sorry, you know me in the color play. Like, his coat is brown, her coat is brown, the doggy's coat is brown. Everybody is wearing a brown coat. That is pretty cool. I love when I can kind of tie things, synchronicities like that together across the cards. I think it's really beautiful. Here we have inspiration with the Seven of Pentacles and the Eight of Swords. I think the artwork is quite compatible between these two decks too, because both decks feel like they kind of exist in times gone by, right? In the past, or in our collective human history. So we have grief with the Four of Pentacles and the Four of Wands. Grief between the fours. It's quite interesting. Withdrawal between the King of Pentacles and the Queen of Cups. Beautiful. Timing with the Three of Cups and the Ten of Cups. That's quite lovely. I do also like to look when I'm working with Danny's deck where the figure is looking. So this figure is looking at the Three of Cups. So that would be something that I would tie into my work with it if I were getting that in a reading. We have trust between the Tower and Temperance. Like she's actually almost pointing to the Tower. It feels a bit like she's saying it's all going to fall apart, like, but you got to have some trust that it's going to bring better things in there. You're going to cultivate that balance that you need. I think that's beautiful. The Past with the Chariot and the Page of Pentacles. Beautiful. Let's do a couple more here. Patience with the Seven of Wands and the Three of Pentacles. Creativity with the Page of Swords and the Five of Pentacles. That's really interesting. I almost feel like it's a call to creativity. Maybe you're feeling a little bit like creatively depleted, because I kind of can get that sense a little bit from both of these cards. Definitely get that kind of depleted. I'm out in the cold. I don't have any creative energy going on right now. I'm really, really lacking that. But I also get this kind of sense in the Page of Swords where he's like rubbing his little tired feet after doing all the work. Like he's already expended all of his creative energy. Like he doesn't really have any left to spare. And that's quite interesting. I feel like there's more shadow work involved in that little reading there. Skill with the Knight of Wands and the Three of Wands. Let's do one more. See what note we end on with this pairing. Fluidity with the Five of Cups and the Knight of Pentacles. So another deck that I thought to pair it with is the Botanical Inspirations. Y'all probably see this deck way too much on my channel, but it is a deck that I can pair with just about any sort of old style or deck that has kind of that more Renaissance, Victorian, like, you know me, I know like two ages and I have no idea what either one of them actually is. But it feels like it goes with sort of all of my, like what I call my old world decks, which is really, really quite cool. Oh my goodness, look at this. The Gerber Daisy with purity, cheerfulness, and innocence between the Empress and the Emperor, who are both young. It says the present moment is filled with joy and happiness. If you are attentive, you will see it. Let's jump into the guidebook really quick, because now we're just kind of having a play, because I love that this card came up. I also love Gerber daisies. Daisies are one of my favorite flowers. I love in this little guidebook the inspirational message, so I'm going to read that in alignment with this little reading here with the Gerber daisy between the Empress and Emperor. It says, the child finds innocent pleasure in picking a daisy and discovers joy when she gives that flower to someone special. When you spread joy around, you will find that you have more than you started with. How perfect is that between our young Emperor and Empress? That's quite beautiful. I really love the messages in the Botanical Inspirations, but I feel like, again, we've got lots of space around the central thing. It's not actually white, it's that parchment paper, but it creates a lot of breathing room. And then we have that sort of central flower image. We have the key phrase and the quote, both of which I definitely work with when I'm using this deck. But here we have eternal memories with forget-me-nots between justice and the wheel. That's quite powerful. I feel like it creates space for the tarot to really expand upon the message. It's a great focal point, but it makes room, it leaves room for the tarot to have its say as well. It doesn't overpower the reading. So we have always joyful with the Eight of Wands and the Lovers. Beautiful. Devotion and dreams fulfilled between the Sun and Judgment. That's interesting. Rebirth and new beginnings. Daffodil with the Two of Wands and the Seven of Swords. Enlightenment with the Ten of Pentacles and the High Priestess. That's a perfect message together. Hidden Secrets with our Magician and the Nine of Pentacles and our Red Rose. Beautiful. Let's do one more. We've got the Hibiscus with Beauty and Happiness between the Nine of Cups and the Knight of Pentacles. I mean, that's perfect. So another deck that I thought would be interesting to pair with it is the Oracle of Mystical Moments, because this deck takes things to a whimsical level. I feel like the art styles will be compatible. It is digital collage with lots of vintage photographs. So I feel like in that sense, it's going to have this similar kind of an energy, but it brings a bit of whimsy. We can also look at it as maybe like what's going on that is outside our realm of understanding, because the Pensive Path feels very in the mundane when we're looking at particularly the minor arcana. It feels very much like it exists in the everyday world. It feels very real, very grounded, very gritty. And then the Oracle of Mystical Moments feels like it steps into this dream world. So I thought that would be really interesting. So we have day and night between the Fool and the Ace of Cups, offering you the daytime, but you're kind of stuck in this maybe melancholy night energy. That's quite interesting. I think it just gives a different kind of perspective. New direction between the Nine of Swords and the Queen of Pentacles. That's interesting. Everything's blowing towards the Queen of Pentacles. Like maybe we need to exit. We need to leave behind this Nine of Swords energy. Find a new direction that's going to lead us to the Queen of Pentacles. The perfect key between the Knight of Swords and the Three of Swords. Interesting that we have birds in both of these cards. There's a lot of forward movement going on. It feels like there's that choice here. You have that choice. We also have a heart with a key, and the Three of Swords generally has a lot of times a heart on it with three swords piercing it, right? Because it's that heartbreak card, which is, again, not how I read it, but it's interesting that it's there. It's kind of hearkening to that Three of Swords energy, and we have like the bird with all the keys over here that kind of feels like almost like it's talking about all of these knights here. Like you can put all of that energy to it, and you can unlock the situation that you're going to learn from. But like we have the heart is in the cage. So is it going to be a good situation or a bad one? Is it going to be a good lesson learned or a bad one? So interesting there. We have Liberty with the Six of Swords and the King of Cups. They're all going forward, going somewhere else. That's interesting. Maybe being liberated. Sleeping Beauty's dream between the Nine of Wands and the Eight of Cups. That's interesting. It adds like a bit of whimsy, I think, in a sense, but also what it's kind of giving me with this particular pairing is it's encouraging me to look at things from a different perspective. I often pair this deck with the Pagan Otherworlds because it encourages me to look at the Pagan Otherworlds through a different kind of lens. I feel like it's doing the same job here with the Pensive Path Tarot as well. White Rose of Hope between the Hierophant and the Devil. Like there's hope if you can channel that spirit of divinity. If you can channel that down and take that within you, then it will help you overcome your inner devil. I think that's pretty cool. Let's see what we get. Moon Dance with the World and Ten of Wands. They're both carrying something. Hers is very light. She's carrying the moon, right? She's attached to the moon. Beautiful. All right, let's do one more. Lorelei with the Seven of Cups and the Star. I think this is a really beautiful deck that really encourages you to sit in reflection, to you to really think about what's going on in the cards, what that means to you in this moment, what connections you have to the imagery, how does it make you feel, what does it make you think of. I feel like this would be a wonderful deck for kind of deep reflective work, where we're sitting in the energy of these cards. Again, like I mentioned, I'd probably be tempted to start with smaller readings with this just because there is so much going on. There's so much depth within these cards. And I think that it's really, really smart. I love the choices for a lot of these. And I think that there's a lot of really interesting things that, as she mentions, like it's connected enough to the RWS that if you have a basic understanding of that system, you can definitely read with this deck. It's tied into that close enough. But it also invites you to go deeper. It invites you to expand upon that, to look at the deck and see, what does it make me think? What do I relate to? Do I see numerological, elemental, Maybe even, do I see something beyond myself here, a connection to the greater whole, or maybe to times gone by, ancestors, the past, humanity on the whole. It's a really interesting deck. It has a really interesting combination of energies, but they feel very cohesive. They tie together beautifully. I love this Two of Cups. Such a brilliant interpretation. It feels like it takes the major arcana talking about the whole of humanity and then brings us back into the present, or into the mundane, let's say, rather than the present, into the mundane and the minor arcana, which I actually really love, because that is kind of how I see the distinction between those two arcanas. The major arcana feels like it's speaking to humanity's journey on the whole. Yes, we can personalize it, we can take it down to the individual level, but it's also the progression of humanity as a species. And then we see in the minor arcana where we can apply that in our mundane lives. And I think that's really beautiful. And of course, you know, it's full of gorgeous paintings. So it's also just a work of art, or 78 works of art in the hand, which is always beautiful. Decks like these, I like to just also look through. And sometimes I will just shuffle and I'll look through the deck until I find a card that speaks to me. And I will pull that card out. You know, we can go through here and I'll just say, you know, what am I feeling right now? Which of these cards speaks to me on that level? And I can pull that out of the deck. You know, maybe I'm feeling very much in this Page of Pentacles energy right now. And so I'm going to sit with that. And maybe I might pull in some other oracle decks to see kind of, you know, what is it about that Page of Pentacle energy that I need to know? That's also a great way to look at it. I could incorporate multiple decks into this too. It can be like, what do I need to know? You know, what's going on beneath that? We got Weave the Flowers. That's beautiful. Then let's pull a botanical card to go with that. I feel like we have the offering in the Page of Pentacles. We're creating something over here. So what are we creating in that offering space? And we have False Indigo with immersion and intuition. When you reach the end of what you should know, you will be at the beginning of what you should sense. That's beautiful. So I can use all of these together in this way to really help me dive into like the energy, the message, the whole spectrum of what one card can offer. And I think that's really cool. So there you have it. That is a look at the Pensive Path Tarot. I think it's a very, very smart deck. I cannot wait to dive into it even further, to incorporate it into my practice. I think it's going to be a great one for some really deep reflective work. I feel like it has a very quiet energy, but it has a nice balance of light and shadow as well. It doesn't shout at me, but it definitely lets me meander into the shadow, and then it brings me back into the light. And I feel like it goes through that kind of cycle throughout the cards, some of them being in that darker realm, some of them being in the lighter realm, and I feel like I can kind of meander through that pensive path. So I want to thank the creator for sending me this deck to share with you today. As always, you'll find links for everything that I've featured here in the description box below. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I look forward to sharing with you again soon.